is why our society has become so dumb, is because we've enabled the dummies with tools. And the dummies with tools are now, it's like, if you give a dummy a fucking rock and, only the smart one's going to figure out the sun and the kindling through a glass prism that can start that fire magnifying away. But if you give a dummy, if he scrapes a piece of flint on the ground by accident, discovers on a rock and sees a spark and he goes, ooh, fire. Like, that's a little easier to do than the magnifying glass. But if everyone can just go, and then they realize they start a fire and they go, oh, fire. And then everyone's building fire, which was one of the 5 bases of our existence. Like, fire is everything, right? To cook and heat and all these different things. Well, if you give the average dummy that ability, they're going to use it in good ways and bad ways. And so the average dummy now has a phone that is a baby computer with at least 5 to 8 social media apps on it where they can project their thoughts and ideas out into the masses. And since our masses is generally a pool of dummies, not all of them, but it's not their fault because they've been raised on bad food and escapism and they've been never really told to question things, then these dummies within the dummy swarm go and then get attention. And then that becomes attention, becomes importance, and important, and then perceived. You can get a lot of attention through something that isn't very intelligent or thought out. And through that, you get a semi-belief of importance. And then actual non-dummies or actual people that are considered somewhat important in society goes, oh, that thing is getting attention. What are they doing? I got to go over there. Not realizing that you're in a school of I don't know, plankton. If you go in the sea, there's tons of plankton. Okay, there's tons of plankton. It's everywhere, but you're not going to see as many sea cucumbers. Man, that's not a good one. How many blue-eyed sunny fish you're going to see? I don't know. I'm trying to make a rare fish. If all I'm trying to say is there's a ton of background actors, but only one Angelina Jolie. I use her because I consider her one of our rare last movie stars that would have worked in any era. From the beginning of film to now, Angelina Jolie would always work. If she could live to be 500 years old, she would have a career from the beginning of film until now. If she didn't age, her look is timeless. Her face is ageless. She does all the moves correctly in terms of what her causes are and such. So to me, she is a platinum stamped movie star throughout time. She could have been around with Rita Hayworth, and she could be with futures that aren't even here yet. So that is a very rare entity. But all of these people that consume that are now have the tools, not as a movie where you can release it in 3,000 theaters, they have it on their phones. And so even though it's not as royal and as cool as movies, your phone can reach 50 million people. So now all of a sudden this ecosystem from here goes over to here, and that is becoming less relevant than that. You know what I'm saying? So the dummies within themselves prop up what we call mediocrity. You know what I'm saying? The propping up of mediocrity. It doesn't mean greatness isn't coming out of the plankton pool. It just means that everybody can say something, and if someone's dumb and says something's halfway intelligent, please don't say me, and then goes, and then another dummy likes it, and then another dummy goes, I feel that way too. I'm dumb, but I think I'm smart, and then boom, and then the next thing you know, we've got a swarm of dummies, and that's how we're in this fucking world, because there's only a few rare wolves, but they're being silenced or not paying attention because dumb is winning because most people are dumb. Does that make sense? And I'm not saying you guys, because I believe my audience really does. And I don't mean that like an asshole way, and people are going to say I'm a judgy, and people judge me all the time. I'm just saying is dumb in the sense of the ability to look at oneself and go, okay, maybe maybe I was dumb there, or maybe I was stupid, and maybe I was blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Like, the ability to self-analyze and self-reflect. You can say anything you want about me, and there's many things that I would agree with, but one thing you can never say is my critical eye. I'm 100% in this moment, and I'm also seeing this moment. That is one of my traits, whether it's a Gemini, a Jamie, or whatever thing. I'm always aware of the situation. When it comes back to the military, which is situational awareness. The best things are situational awareness, and that's what a lot of people do not have. When you're on a plane and you're on FaceTime publicly with no headphones, and now all of a sudden we're all talking to your grandma. This is not even, I don't know why I'm talking about this, but I just was like moved by the spirit. So I have a friend, this young kid. He's the sweetest guy. We had our first argument the other night. I was going to have him on the pod, but the argument happened, and I'm like, we're never going to be able to do it. It was so good when we argued. And I feel bad. I kind of upset him. And I don't know why I'm doing this as a pod. It's kind of like therapy, but it's good just to describe what the situation is. So, because it plays into it. So he talks to me. I haven't seen him in a while. Now, granted, I'm tired. I'm fucking tired. Like, I need to sleep for 4 fucking days, man, between doing radio shows, pods, it's just to travel. And again, what I do is not hard. I'm not Lancey, man, but it takes a lot out of me to, always have to be a good guy and, and try not to show my bad side. And when I see my bad side, it just means my human, emotional, grumpy side, okay? Which you can't do, or people will just judge you extra. I'm supposed to be on all the time, and I'm just not capable of that. I'm not an alien. So I meet my guy, and we were having a late night tea, and, I was too tired to meet him. I should have just not did it. And he starts talking to me, and he's a sweet guy and a very talented guy. And he's at a crossroads in what he's doing creatively. So I'm kind of listening to him, but I didn't know I was going to go into a therapy session about his stuff. And he didn't know either. And we just started talking. And then he's telling me, and this all plays back to the preamble to why I did this, about an influencer. So already that term influencer pisses me the fuck off. That is the dumbest term in the last 15 fucking years. Let's get rid of it. How influential are you? Do you know who is influential? Da Vinci. Do you know who is influential? Andy Warhol. Do you know who is influential? Elon Musk. Trump. Okay, that's influential. Not somebody fucking cosplaying. I'm sorry. You can cosplay, but I'm not going to, please. If you're a cosplayer, I love cosplay, sure, but please don't take yourself too seriously. If you do, we're going to have an issue. Because you're basically going in to Margot Robbie's clothes, which she played and made it, what do we say when a fucking franchise, canon. Whoever drew that original character that Margot Robbie played, I don't know, was it Stan Lee? Whoever drew that was the first canon. And then Margot Robbie playing, I can't even remember the name. That's how fucking old I've gotten. That's crazy. It's the most popular character. Her playing that character, it's her for the rest of time. Other people can try it, but no, it's her. She was perfect at it. It's embedded in my mind. But when you cosplay that character, not Barbie, the other one she did, that's how dumb I am. I'm not even going to look it up. I'm tired. Harley Quinn! So when someone else cosplays Harley Quinn, you're not cosplaying Harley Quinn. You're cosplaying Margot Robbie, because that's what everyone thinks of. The world, people in Hollywood, people in New York, people in London. A guy in a hut in Zimbabwe is going, Margot Robbie! Ooh! 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 Harley Quinn! Margot Robbie! Ooh! Ooh! Sorry, but that's my interpretation. So that's what we think of. So when you're doing it, you're just biting off of her. And that's fine. You can do it. Like, there's this amazing cosplayer who dresses in these different costumes, and she's an incredible dancer. And as you saw the one with her doing Wednesday. Oh my God, she's so good. Like, she really could. Like, if there's a whole dance sequence with Wednesday again, although Jenna Ortega was amazing, it'd be cool because this girl can, like, flip and stuff. I don't know. Anyway, I'm saying is that to me was cosplaying done correctly when it's like the character does something outside of the character. And I'm like, oh, that's so fucking cool. I get that. And that's an homage. Anyway, if you're a cosplayer, you shouldn't take yourself too seriously. You shouldn't take yourself too seriously if you're if you're an actor, comedian, musician, none of us. You should have self-awareness. But I feel like, so he's getting mad, my buddy. He's really butthurt that this cosplayer didn't want to be in one of his videos. So I already say to him, who cares? It's no biggie. And then he's talking about another guy who's an actor who does some things, but you don't really know who he is, but he's done some things and it's very respectable. The guy has a very nice career, but he's not really that known, but he's a talented guy. And it also rubbed my buddy the wrong way. So my buddy's getting butthurt, and I'm like, so already I'm getting hurt. Now, why am I getting hurt? Because I'm like, dude, you're sitting, not to, again, suck my own dick, but I'm like, you're having tea with me. I'm buying you a tea right now. Like, you're with me. Like, I'm telling you, you're great. You're cool. Don't worry about these people. But he's giving his power over there, which is then lessening my power. And I'm like going, so am I shit? Like, do you know what I'm saying? And maybe that's narcissistic or maybe it's truthful, because what I value is original legacy IP. And like, you can say whatever you want, but the different things I've done have been off of original ideas, not me dressing up as fucking a Wonder Twin. You know what I'm saying? So I'm telling you all this because it's a story of how society is. So I'm getting tired. I'm a little tired. I'm a little annoyed. And I could have had him on to discuss this, but it's good to get it out as I'm saying it because then you'll understand this. So you want to be blessed by the business, and these people that I don't really consider really in the business. The actor I do because he works, but he's not really that known. But he acts as if he's Colin Farrell, according to my friend. And that's just not, which I say, bro, it's always the people that are the most insecure that overcompensate. So I go and I look at this cosplayer girl, I'm sorry, she was a woman, profile, and she had dissed my buddy and said she didn't want to be in one of his videos. And it's okay. She doesn't have to be in one of his videos. But she kind of was like, that's not my brand and all this stuff. And I look and she's got like 17,000 followers, which is fine. But in that world, you should have more because that's what your brand is, followers, right? Not so much a talent that you're known for. You're not someone that plays the oboe. You're just someone who dresses up in a costume that someone else made famous. That is not the talent. Will be to get the exposure. It doesn't mean for that you should be a very humble person. Whereas someone in playing the oboe and they get a bunch of followers, they may be super talented, but the followers are just because they like what they do. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying if you're not cosplayer, you can't have talent. You can have a lot of talent, and there is talent to it. But if you take yourself too seriously, you're going to be taken down a peg or two because you're going into a market that's not hard to penetrate. Okay, anyone can buy a costume. Doesn't mean they're going to look good in it. You understand what I'm saying? Learning the oboe is a much harder skill. Barrier to entry, how high do you rise within it? That's what we're talking about here. How hard is the barrier to entry and how hard is it to rise in this world? So he was very upset. I'm trying to be like, dude, chill out, man. He wasn't that upset. He was just hurt. And I'm like, don't worry about it. Then he shows me, and it sparked this whole idea for the video. He shows me a picture of this chick, and she's fine, she's attractive, whatever. And there's a picture of her at the Oscars. And I'm like, is she cosplaying an Oscar guest? He's like, no, she went to the Oscars, probably as someone's +1 or whatever. In her post, it said, oh my goodness, it's been such a year. So many people to thank. How I got here, I can't even begin. And I'm like, wait a minute, is she an actress? He's like, no, she doesn't even have a SAG card. I'm like, but what, did she win an Oscar? He's like, no, she didn't even act. I'm like, well, she's giving a speech. And there was about 9 pictures of her, like next to the gold statue and on the steps. And, my dreams, my lifelong dream has been fulfilled. And I'm like, what? Like, dude, she's giving a speech through her caption. And I'm like, and he's like, yeah, bro. He's like, yeah, I don't know. Someone gave her a ticket to the Oscars and she ran with it. And I'm like, is this girl serious? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, someone gave this girl like a ticket to the Oscars and she ran with it. And I go, bro, are you this insecure, or have you, are you, and it's different because he's half my age. And so he was raised on a different scale. So I understand. It took me a second to walk away to understand it, but it's a fascinating thing is he doesn't understand. He loves legacy media, but he may have been raised that this is a version of currency, right? Just being at something instead of doing something to be there. And so I was like, don't worry about it. And he was like, I know, but now she like thinks she's cool and this. And now it's like even dissing me harder in his mind. And I said, bro, she's a bum. Someone gave her a ticket or she bought a ticket or whatever. She's not part of the ceremony. He goes, well, in her world, they're looking at her now and she's winning. And so I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, it's not legit. And he's arguing with me. And that's when the argument started, because it's basically what happens is then you are discrediting a person that's literally in the game. You know what I mean? Like, whether I'm hot or cold or whatever, I'm in the game. I can tell you. I've never been to the Oscars. Okay, are you ready? I've never been to the Oscars. But I want to say I've been in 2 or 3 movies that have been nominated. One for Best Picture, I'm pretty sure. One for Screenplay. And it had nominations for other things. I want to say Romeo and Juliet had... it should have went up for Best Picture, but it was up for like Best Costume, Best Adapted Screenplay. I believe... maybe not Best Adapted Screenplay, because they couldn't change it. I don't know. It was... What I'm saying is I've been that. And I've gone to the after parties. I've gone to Vanity Fair. And then there are times I just didn't even go to Vanity Fair because I didn't want to go and be all too serious. So I would go to the after party. And then I'd go to the after party, and then we'd go to Diddy's. Diddaloos. Ain't joking. So now I'm like, wait, what? So you understand my thing. So I'm now arguing with him because I'm like, dude, this is not a credentialed human being to do this, and you shouldn't be that. And you're sitting with me right now, and I just bought you a fucking tea. And then I was tired, and then the argument happened and whatever. And he gets it. So, but what am I saying? This was a great learning point for me and a lesson in the sense of it all goes back to the beginning of this video. This is why society has essentially become ramen noodles, and not the good ones. The 25-cent packet ones that you could get at Dollar Tree. I'm not saying they're not filling, but they're not tasty, but they're not filling. They're not sustenance. This is why we've become a whole society of sizzle and not steak. Okay? There's a difference between starring in Chinatown from 1970 to 1975. The run of movies that Jack Nicholson was in are all legacy, meme-worthy GIF, Mount Rushmore cinema performances and projects. And even though that he had an amazing pick there are other movies from that era that you may not know, but you will know because they just stand the test of time. And then maybe you don't know them because they're not as memed as much, but they could be if someone discovered them and put them out there. And so we live in a culture of artificial flavors and red, yellow, number 5, or red dye number 5, whatever. You understand what I'm saying? So... And I thought what's really fucked up is, this is the deeper one, is that it's being allowed.